Hi, I'm Natalie Thomas with Princess Power. I've been working on this tile floor for a little while and showing you bits and pieces along the way. And today we're going to be talking about how to make contour cuts to fit your tile around a door or other difficult spaces like your toilet. So I'm going to show you a little video here. This is how my floor is coming along. I took a little break to visit my grandmother. These are 24-inch by 24-inch tiles. They're big, they're heavy, and for a girl, they're a little hard. And you have to mix the big bucket of mastic with 50 pounds of powder and put your water in there and get it all stirred up. And then you slather it on the floor and you slather it on the back of the tile. And in the old days, they did a sort of C shape on the back for the mastic of the tile. And now they do it straight. Okay, so that's just a little detail for you. But here we go. Here are some of the tools. This is silly, but this is my grease pencil. You can also use a permanent marker because it's going to come right off of your tile. My little dog is kleptomaniac. I caught him tiptoeing out with this in his mouth the other day. Got it back from him, but when I needed it today, guess where it was? Under the bed, chewed too. So I don't have as good a point. I had to try to sharpen it and it didn't do too well. So here we go. Here are some of the tools that are options. Now I'm not going to actually demonstrate cutting today because my tile saw is really, really loud and I don't have anybody to hold the camera. You wouldn't be able to hear me talk. And I just think it would be a super bad idea, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. All right, so this tool, I don't actually remember the name of, oscillating saw. There you go. I remembered it. I use this for my wood floors, and what you want to do is you cut the wood, and I'm holding it up high. You would use it low. You cut out just enough. It moves back and forth and saws away your trim so that you can fit your wood floor or your tile under it. Now, getting the right height for tile is a little harder because you're going to gain height when you put the mastic in. So even though cutting out around the door is a little harder than slipping it under, I'm cutting it out. Yes. So been working on this for a while. I sort of left the hard parts till last. Don't we always do things like that? So anyway, this wonderful little gadget here is called a contour blade. Oh, and it's really great except when it's stuck in my hair. So this part right now is fitted to here, but I can also fit it here this way. Sorry, I said it didn't go in the view. And what that does is take on the shape of whatever you press it up against. Now, to start my next side of the room, I'm going to have to make it all straight again anyway. Takes a little bit of effort. I push it on both sides to try to get it flat. I haven't pushed it on the other one yet, but I'll do that before I get started over there. But I want to show you a little bit more about this. Now, in some of the places I needed the tile to kind of go like this on both sides of the door. That's a lot harder when you're working with a bladed saw like I am downstairs. I haven't shown you my tile saw, but it's way up on a table and it's a big one, although it's not quite made for the 24 by 24 tiles. I'm going to show you this other tool. This is a Dremel, and I got a bit that's supposed to cut tile, but I just want to be straight up with you. I paid like $13 for that bit and it's not working that well. So what do I always say? I say improvise, adapt, and overcome. You don't let anything stop you. And the reason I do these videos is I love to teach people, if I can do it, you can do it. Okay, I was a stay-at-home mom for 22 years. I was a grandma before I went into business, and my business has done way over $10 million in sales. That was the first 4 years. I'm 12 years in on it now. Just never added it all up. So anyhow, okay, so let's just talk about this cut first. Let me get down in here. Sorry about that. So I had to obviously measure before I did anything. And there's a saying in carpentry, measure twice, cut once. That means double check your measurements, okay? So obviously I could do a straight cut here. I could do a straight cut here. I could do a straight cut here. But what I could not do is get my blade in to cut this way. The way you improvise, adapt, and overcome on a cut like that is you make multiple very small cuts into the space where you want to go. Now, what happens is your blade will bite all the way into the line that you have, and you'll think, I got it, I'm done. And when you pull it out or you flip it over, you'll find that there's anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of stuff on the bottom still sticking out. So you need to get that. Now, there are ways to score that and break with pliers. I go ahead and just go in holding my tile. I flip it up like this and then use the blade of the saw like a grinder and just kind of chomp out those pieces. And that is what has made it very easy for me to just slide this piece in here. Now this piece is not down with mastic, so it's not perfectly flat. I just have it sitting there until I have the strength and energy to, ooh, I just found some yucky stuff I have to scrape off with my little scraper that I don't see here right now. But anyway, I'll do that later. Easily distracted. My editor used to call me squirrel. So I have them sitting in place, the little odd ones, until I get ready to mix that stuff up, which is probably not going to be today. Once I cut a couple more of these, it's a little bit of an ordeal since they don't fit perfectly on that saw. You have to support the weight of the tile or your tile will crack. Now, I've had pretty good luck with this, but the other day I had, now this wasn't even cutting the contour, just trying to cut a straight cut. I had 3 tile break, and you don't want that. No, when you order tile, you always order about 10% more. But I want to go over here. I'm moving into this area to show you this doorway area. Okay. So this gap between the 2 doors, not the 2 doors, but the 2 sides of the door jamb, and on over to, I'm having to look to see if I'm getting this in the picture. I'm sorry, over into here. Okay. So what I decided to do with this was, because it's literally impossible to cut the tile on both sides and get a big good gap in there and just slide it in and have it fit on both sides of your wall, basically. Now, I shouldn't say it's totally impossible. I'm sure some man who's been doing this for years could do it. And I actually have a book down in my booth for $5 that I'm selling on tile that I keep thinking I'll go over there and get it and actually maybe read it to see if there's any tips and tricks that I've missed. I used to own a construction company years ago. Although I was not the contractor, I did do labor on the jobs in addition to answering the phones and doing the bookkeeping. So, and I grew up with parents. I had a mom that used to work and take us on the jobs. We'd sit in the car and you just pick up things over the years. And sometimes when I want to do something, I just pray and ask God to show me how to do it. So here we go. We're talking about this piece of tile. And rather than do the whole 24-inch piece, I decided that right here in the middle of the door jamb would be a good place to do a break. It's kind of a natural place that your eye isn't going to really pick up that there's a problem. People kind of expect different breaks. A lot of times, sorry, I'm trying to get my hair out of the way. Transitions through doorways. So I have this big piece over here waiting, and I've laid it out so that when it's done, it matches up this tile. I picked something here that has a pattern. So you can see I have a longer distance with this one before I needed to get over here into this doorway. And my cut is pretty good. It's not perfect, but that will all fill with grout and look great. Now, this is the other half of the tile that I just did a mirror image on the other side, and you can see I wound up with a little problem here. I have a gap. And what I'm going to do to take care of that gap and eliminate it is just trim a little off along this wall. I'll push everything further in, and that will just give me enough for a grout line there, and everything will be fine. It's not a disaster. Now, my floor is not perfect here. There is a place or two where it's not perfectly level. It's very, very close. I actually was moving people out of a home. Gosh, it was just a couple weeks ago. And it was this young couple. They didn't have kids, and they were moving into an 100 square foot home. And they hired my husband and I to go move a handful of things from one house to the other. And in their beautiful, beautiful, huge, expensive home, one of the first things I noticed is that there was a tile that was not perfectly level. Now, they do make some great devices, plastic things that can help pull up and level. But my tile shop decides to sell the packages of 1,000 pieces. Okay, so they must be selling them to professionals. They're not selling them to homeowners like myself, who would need 25 of them max, 50. Yeah, I would need 50 in here. But anyway, they sold them in packages of 1,000 with the two parts separate from each other. So it would have been literally $100 extra for this project just to buy something that would have made it easier to level. Now, that would be worth it for some people. For me, it didn't happen to be. And speaking of not perfect, over here behind the corner, which I'm not going to show you, I'm just going to tell you about, I have a little spot that not only is not perfectly level, I have a bigger gap than I should have. And I had already put mastic on the back of the tile before I realized that it was a little shorter in one direction. And the shorter part wasn't a problem because, again, all I had to do is move it away from the wall a little bit more. But because I had all that goo on it, dragging it downstairs to the tile saw just wasn't that appealing. And I think I had already done it once to get some little corner nicked out. So there we go. That is contouring pieces of tile. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start with this big piece. And I'm going to measure everything out to divide the piece between the two rooms. Now this one's going to be a lot easier because there's not a lot of space between the door jamb and the wall. Okay, you want to see the really hard one I have to deal with over here? This one, there's a lot of tile space on this side, and then there's space here, but there's no way to do what I'm talking to you about and come back here as well. Okay, so to fit around 3 sides of this post just isn't going to happen. So I have to make a place to make a cut, and I just haven't decided exactly where I'm going to do it. I'm looking at it now and I kind of think I have an idea. But sometimes if you study things from different angles, it gives you other perspective. So speaking of perspective, I'm going to invite you to check us out over at www.princesspower.com, where I talk about health, talk about wealth, and we talk about relationships. Now, when I say wealth, a lot of it is business. I really encourage people to start your own business, talk about a lot of different ways to do that, talk to a lot of different business owners over there. I have talked to women that started their own business from home, sold it for $20 million. Had another guy on my show making $20,000 to $50,000 a day with his podcast. So a lot of great stuff over at www.princesspower.com. I want to thank you for watching and encourage you to subscribe to our channel, comment, like, share. All of those things really help us in the search engines. And I just want to wish you